Is wrestling a sport or a form of entertainment? Personally, I believe that because of its scripted nature, it's a form of entertainment, and because of this, I consider every single wrestling pay-per-view ever made to be a movie. So when people ask, what's your favourite movie of all time, I tend to get funny looks when I say it, but wrestling fans will understand me when I say that it's ECW December to December 2006. In fact, outside of wrestling, I've seen about 11 movies. 3 of them were Jackass, 2 of them were The In-Betweeners, 1 of them was Green Street, 1 of them was about a car that came back to life and killed people. I don't really remember the rest, but I assume that like all movies, they're pretty much just wrestling shows about the wrestling. So, in this video, I'm going to further solidify the argument that wrestling and movies are basically the exact same by paying the most qualified movie critics I can find on Fiverr and sending them my favourite wrestling shows. But I'm not going to mention that they're wrestling shows or whatever. I'm just going to call them movies and see how they feel about it after watching them. I will write movie and TV show articles, reviews, or analysis. This is perfect. He goes through the cinematography, the opening shots of the movie, critique, behind the scenes facts. I mean, if you can get me some behind the scenes facts on Tennessee Backyard Wrestling's Memorial Monday, then I will be more than impressed. And the show is quite a good lineup, to be fair. You've got Max Chaos versus Fat Asian. You've got Big Mac versus Jackson Cole. Gage Flair versus Enigma. And in the main event, Titan versus Mr. C. Mr. C could stand for Mr. Kean. It could stand for Mr. Chalopsography, the art of engraving on steel, apparently. Could be any of these things. But what's really impressive is the fact that even though this is the card, and it is a good card, don't get me wrong, they actually have, and I'm not even messing, a really, really, really big wrestling, like, name in a non-wrestling role.
And here he comes! The music of the man, the only...
I'm not even messing, it is literally the one and only
Matthew Joseph!
That's right, Ross, and on the previous episode...
So that's really cool. The whole show is 1 hour and 6 minutes long, but I don't think the critics gonna mind that too much. Would you like to review this movie for me? It is a very epic action movie. Thanks. And I'm really hoping he says yes, because I'm looking at the rest of his bio and it says, I assure you that you will receive the highest quality of movie or TV show related articles, free of any grammatical or punctuation mistakes and plagiarism. Man, that is... if you can find an article that somebody else has already written about Tennessee Backyard Wrestling, honestly, I respect that just as much. I will write an excellent film review, film critique, or movie review and analysis. That sounds good to me. Hopefully we'll be getting an excellent review of MXW Dead End 2021. This person comes from a university, it seems, and I noticed they're putting a lot of emphasis on the mise-en-scène, which, as somebody who's in college right now studying film, I absolutely know what mise-en-scène means, and I hope this has a good mise-en-scène. But another noteworthy thing about this show is that it's based in Australia, and like Australia at the minute, it's the first scene to have fans properly back, so it's kind of... It's got a lot of momentum right now, it's kind of on fire right now, and I'm glad we get to put some high quality, top of the range Australian wrestling in for this person to review, and hopefully they appreciate it as much as we do. Now, the card for this show wasn't revealed in the opening couple of minutes, but I did have a watch there, and I noticed they have Fish Boy. And that's all I noticed, because I'm not watching 1 hour and 7 minutes of this show. But fortunately for us, our critic will. So we'll get their insight on the show. I will write a quality movie analysis or review. This looks good to me. In-depth analysis. It's what you want to see. Another thing you want to see is when they say that they will review any genre. Because, of course, this is the action genre, a very popular one. But the subgenre, of course, being Southwest Virginia Backyard Wrestling. Probably the best part about being a wrestling fan in 2021 as well is the fact that the forbidden door is wide open, as is evident by Kenta in AEW, Kenny Omega in Impact, and Fat Asian from TBW in SVBW. So this is a really, really exciting show to be sending out. Finally, we'll be sending out one of the movies to this person who says they'll write 700 words on this show in 4 days or less. We're going back to Australia for this one. Again, I just want to see what these critics have to say about top quality, proper Australian wrestling. I'd like to thank my patrons as well. I could have put that Patreon money towards my final year of college, but I figured that this was a much more educational experience, so thanks again. And now it's time to wait a couple of days, see what our critics have to say about the beautiful pieces of art that we have sent their way.
The next day.
Right, so we got a lot of them back already. I think we're going to start with the Tennessee Backyard Wrestling one, because that was quite an interesting one. TBW Memorial Monday Event Review. Today we are reviewing the Memorial Monday event by TBW. The event begins with a tribute to the troops as all the performers are standing in the ring with the anthem playing in the background. It is a great way to kick things off, and it was well executed. We're off to a good start. The event officially kicks things off with a promo delivered by Matthew Joseph and Josh Allen. Apart from some audio issues, the performers showcased their good mic skills.
Why join this?
To be a cosplayer.
No, my career was going to the toilet.
To be a kiss boy.
When I had to face, you understand, I had to face my own flesh and blood. This piss hole of a company was forcing me on my own hand.
Where was I again? Oh yeah, good mic skills. Confronting each other, and the whole promo is quite entertaining as it escalates the heat between the two.
You know what? Anniversary. I'll see you there, son.
Hogan Andre, Austin Rock, Matthew Josh. It really is up there for me. You can really feel the emotion in that stare down. As soon as the promo ends, we finally get to see our first match, which takes place between Max Chaos and Fat Asian. This was one hell of a match. It was a great way to kick things off. Both athletes performed so well in this match, but the performance of Max Chaos is noteworthy. He keeps up the momentum and eventually turns out victorious. He definitely has a bright future ahead, and according to some fans, he might even become the next TBW heavyweight champion. Now that is controversial. I had a look at the comments and I didn't really see any comments supporting that argument. I did see one that said, "Oh wow, this was so cool video, damn, I take on any one of the wrestlers in a match any kind of one." Besides that, didn't see any Max Chaos discussion. Next up, we have an exciting matchup between Big Mac and Jackson Cole. These two performers are beasts. They put up an amazing show and kept the momentum going which the earlier performers had established. They both showed excellent feats of athleticism. It was a treat to watch these two gigantic forces go all out on each other. The match kept getting unpredictable, but eventually, Big Mac came out on top and defeated Jackson Cole. This whole match was also a treat to watch, and the performers did an amazing job. Another really positive review of another segment, but it did leave out my favourite part, which is when Big Mac decided to do the Triple H entrance where he spits the water, but instead of spraying it in the way that Triple H does and watching it go everywhere and, you know, make it kind of visually aesthetic, he kind of just sort of spat it straight up on itself and it just sort of squirted out and went bloop back on his own face. It kind of took away from the moment for me, but the critic didn't seem to mind too much, so we'll continue. The next match is between Enigma and Gage Flair. The match starts with the entrance of Enigma, who's paying tribute to the Icon with his face paint, which was a very nice touch. After the entrance of Gage Flair, the match finally begins. It was a little underwhelming at times. You can't, that's too far, I know the critic's job is to criticise, but that to me is ridiculous. My only criticism is that I was kind of hoping that Gage Flair would be a little bit more of an MDK crossover type thing, but besides that, you know, I thought the match was alright. The last matchup of TBW Memorial Monday is between Mr. C and the TBW World Heavyweight Champion, Atomic Titan. These two put up an amazing show. Their arsenal of moves and techniques is really vast, which keeps up the momentum of the match. It is always entertaining to watch such performers who put in that extra effort to make sure the match doesn't go off the rails. Mr. C showcases enormous strength, while Atomic Titan was more on the agile side. The match was going well, and things were looking good for Mr. C, but Josh Allen played dirty and hit him with the championship title while the referee was occupied, causing things to turn in favour of Atomic Titan. It was a great finish to this spectacular Memorial Day event by TBW. The twist at the end was very unpredictable, but it definitely added another layer to the match. Overall, the whole event was very entertaining with amazing performances from each of the athletes. They all fought well and left the audience in wonder. Let's see where things are headed from here. That was a really nice review, a really positive one. In fairness to TBW, this was a lot more watchable than a lot of other backyard wrestling stuff because their production was actually quite good. But let's see if MXW 2021 will have as positive of a review. To begin with, it is true that when one opens the video by looking at the setup and the start, it might seem like, why are you watching it? But trust me, when you keep looking at the video and it proceeds further, the interest level grows to a different level. There are a lot of positives and negatives in the video. To start with the negative, it has a rough and untidy kind of setup. Secondly, it seems like some of the characters are overreacting, especially at the start. To begin with positives, the untidy setup has its positives as well. Firstly, the untidy setup makes to have a glimpse of the reality that it's been set up in a backyard. Secondly, this kind of setup makes it relatable, like anyone could get the motivation to perform such kinds of matches in their backyard. No. I can't agree with this at all. When I watch this, I know full well that these are incredibly highly skilled, trained professionals, and we couldn't do it if we tried. One of the most important things I love about this video is its interesting commentators.
What in the world is Frankie Grime got in mind? He's climbing up those tires. What can we see here? No! A jumping Superman punch.
All I'll say is, there is a reason WWE fired Adnan Virk when they saw who was on the market. Their commentary made it look like something is happening in front of you and not on the screen only. For example, at 40 minutes, I was shocked that what is happening right now, the work of the commentators and the actors made it look so real that my eyeballs were literally about to fall. Right, so let's have a look and see what happened at 40 minutes.
You know, this is quite the interesting match, I believe, as well. Oh,
look at this. Oh, knee.
oh
The stunner. And we know how he follows it up.
The
Spear. Oh, wait.
Are your eyeballs okay? There's a charm in backyard wrestling, as the mattresses were becoming soft and delicate as the matches were proceeding. The fighters also started to hit with nearby objects such as steel chairs and even rocks. Yes, that's true. Two fighters such as TJ Nigel and Demolition Man, also known as two best friends, have hit each other with the rock, adding a touch of horror to the video. There's also a shocking event that happens at 40 minutes, as you have previously mentioned, that is a must watch, making the overall experience better. All the characters such as Fishman, Frankie Grime, Latchy B, TJ Nigel, Demolition Man and Jimmy fricking Burton had wrestled in a very unique and interesting way. Backyard wrestling is a very unique idea, and watching this video makes one go for backyard wrestling. We actually have 2 positive reviews out of 2. That is a pleasant surprise, and all I have to ask now is, can we make it 3?
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to SVBW Headstrong 2021.
It's time for our SVBW review, and it begins with Wrestling Gets Real. The more decent content and hunky story construction. I could not have said that better myself. So true. In the time when wrestling is the name of butchery battle, when things have forgotten real. What I mean is that the general wrestling shows are fully scripted and aims in showing 2 men fighting in front of a full capacity crowd. I am blown away by the innovation in the wrestling world by Headstrong. The dialogues were natural, coming with excellent deliverance.
If I have to kill him myself, he will not lose the UCWA World Championship.
The deliverance probably was really good, in fairness. I just couldn't hear it because the cameraman decided to have an asthma attack. No doubt how dangerous the job of wrestling is. The strains and pains of the body, which I was expecting while thinking to watch the movie. I got astonished when there was no bloodshed.
Bullet blew right across the gut and stomach. The gummit, yeah, that's right, the gummit. It's a new one. That's gut and stomach combined.
Yeah, I'm really surprised there wasn't any bloodshed either. That was proper dangerous stuff. It surprised me when Logan exposed himself. Right, we're gonna skip that part. The instant of battling was not easy for the viewers to watch, I must say. The involvement of pain, thrashing and belting was a tough job for me to struck on the watching. However, I'm happy with the ending.
Is he gonna give here? Let me check him. Check him here. Yeah. That's it. Ring the bell. That's it. Ding, ding, ding.
I'm not surprised the critic was really happy with the ending. It was like Bret Hart and Steve Austin, but with like added emotion. As the viewers know exactly what hinders their eye, the cameraman could make a better shooting by placing the camera in one place or using some gadget to give a still impression of the movie. It was the sole flaw I noticed from the very beginning to the end of the movie. I don't know about that one. I was actually a big fan of the camera work. I really liked how he stood many feet away from the action and behind a fence. It made me feel as socially awkward watching the video as I would be in real life, and that sort of authentic experience is something that I really appreciate. Although I enjoyed the wrestling especially, I am on the Mercer side. It was the all-man show. Another positive review, 3 positive reviews out of 3, and to make things even better, we have finally received our 4th review. May God grant you nothing. Thanks, Alicia. We have sent her SAWF, another Australian promotion, because Australia seems to be where the backyard wrestling is at. And let's read the review. Pros. Number 1. Actor's choice. Even at a glance, it is easy to notice that the actors were fit for the task. This was a good part. They definitely looked the part of being professional wrestlers. So in other words, some of them had wrestling gear. 2. General setup. In the setup, there is a fighting ring. This is a fighting ring well fitted for the arrangement of a wrestling match. In the same general setup, there was a referee and a commentator ready to execute their roles. So in other words, they had a ring. 3. Signature tunes. This is a constant feature whenever wrestling matches come. It was clear that each of the competitors had their own signature tune. This is the tune that played when they made their grand entry. So in other words, they had theme music. And that's it. That is all the pros she is given. They had gear, a ring, and music. In other words, they existed. And now we move on to the cons. The mood of the fighters. When the actors make their grand entry, it was easy to tell that they were putting on a show. It was not real. 2. Camera positioning. It was like someone was there holding the camera, but this person was shaking and could not remain stable. That is why the picture kept shaking and failing to stabilize. This made the picture quality shaky and poor. Okay, fair enough, some of this show was filmed at an obtuse angle, but I have to say, if this woman watched WWE, she would probably have a heart attack. Number 3, the commentator. The commentator failed to make the scene live in his commentaries. He was flat, boring, and unaffected. Even when the action was reaching its climax, his tone of voice was still the same flat, boring newsreader.
And what's he going for here? Oh, I think that's a knee bar or a heel hook applied. I can't really tell from this angle. And yep, that's got to be it.
I mean, he is commentating backyard wrestling in fairness, and he showed up in person. So I do appreciate the effort in fairness. 4. Inappropriate screen. The arena was well arranged with ropes, a mat and corners, but the screen was too small for such a purpose. It could have been even more appropriate to avoid filming it. The signature tunes could have come in the background on their own. I could not disagree with this anymore if I fucking tried. I can't believe I am spending my Monday afternoon sticking up for a random backyard wrestling show in Australia, but for a backyard wrestling show to have its own Titantron, and yes, I'm gonna call it a Titantron, is, objectively speaking, really fucking cool. But the negatives don't end there. Unconvincing stunts. It was very easy to spot how the fighters were staging a game of pretense. Their stunts were next to a child's play. It was easy to see that they were pretending. Even their falls in most cases were ill-timed and awkward. 6. The referee. Referees are very critical in such movies, but this referee did not come to life. In any wrestling can watch, there is one common item you will find about referees. They are energetic and hyperactive. When they hammer the ground to make the counts, it is real and action-packed, but the referee in the movie was not in any of the matches in this respect. Again, I'm gonna stick up for this Australian backyard company because I feel like refs don't get the love and respect they deserve. I didn't watch this show, but I am sure the ref put in his absolute best, was a professional, and didn't let the show down in any possible way.
You go down.
And you see how he wrapped the tether around 3.
That's a 3.
3.
Okay, never mind. Inconsistent coherence. The various parts of a movie are so coherent. In some cases, you will not even see a break in your mind. This is because the whole script is so excellently edited that each part fits into the other. In the end, the entire movie flows in a smooth and awesome manner. I thought she was talking about this show for a second, but it turns out she's talking about movies in general. In fact, the scenes have their own natural fade, but in this movie, the flow was missing even when a scene was in motion. It might have needed further editing, but whatever the case, this did not blend in so well. And fortunately, that's it for the negatives, but we now have to read the conclusion. This movie, despite not having an excellent concept, did not strike the nail on the head. The actors did not deliver with convincing stunts. When you see a fighting clip, it should send you to the edge of your seat. That's the spark one looks out for in such movies. But in this case, the actors were not able to make the stunts convincing. To make it even worse, the commentator was not in the clip. He had his own flat tone to nurse. The description of scenes right before a winner comes should be emotional. This can even be intense moments before the loser taps out in conceding defeat. Okay, so we did get a negative review. I am crushed, but we learned a lot of lessons today. In this video, we learned that backyard wrestling and the world of film are one and the same. From the cinematography, to the stuntmen, to the construction of narratives, to the acting, to the production, to the conveyance of emotion, to the mise-en-scène, whatever that actually means, and that although today may not be that day, one day we'll be sitting down to watch the Oscars and we'll see the actors receive their awards, and in among those actors we will see Fat Asian Gage Flair, Fish Boy, the lad that spat thick lumps of water on his own face, the ref that couldn't count to 3, and one day, backyard wrestling will be respected by everyone. Except for one critic who just point blank refused to do it. But besides that, I'm sure everyone will like it.